But we have Nina Rudis, Drew Kramer, and John Colbert.
It's really Colbert, but it sounds sexier.
It was his request.
Sexy.
I'll keep this I'll start us off. My name is Drew Kramer. I am a person without credentials other than having a Bachelor of the Arts degree in English, which gives me credentials for everything. The topic here today is sex, and specifically, well, to get started, we are Homo sapiens, and we are storytellers. Who we are, in a great respect, is a matter of the story that we tell ourselves about ourselves. The story that I tell myself about Drew Kramer is who I am. And that also is true of our sexual selves, right? This is the story of who I am sexually. These are the experiences that I have had. This is what really gets my juices flowing. This is what I'm really, really good at sexually. Our bodies change as we go through life. Our circumstances change. Our expectations change. And it's a good thing if our stories about who we are with respect to sex and sexuality change also as we go through life. And hopefully this 50-minute hour that we're going to spend together can be the start of coming up with a story that works for you about sex and sexuality. The kind of sex that I'm going to be talking about goes by many different names: leather, BDSM, kink. All of those are a little bit loaded in some way, and kink is actually a term that I hate. Kink sounds like something that Joanne Worley would use to describe.
You're dating yourself.
Truly, and I own that. I am vintage. I'd like to borrow from a friend of mine who lives down in San Diego, a man named John McConnell, who likes to use the term spicy to describe sex beyond the missionary position with the lights out in the context of a lifelong committed monogamous relationship. So we're going to be talking about spicy sex. But when I say spicy, if you're more comfortable with leather or kink or BDSM or whatever, you can just inject that. But the thing that I want to emphasize is no matter what sex you've had, no matter what your sexual history might be at this point in your life, there is a world out there for you to discover. Because if we're talking about spicy sex or leather sex or whatever, it's not just whips and chains anymore, even though I'm happy to say, as a big fan of whips and chains, that whips and chains are definitely still a possibility. But spicy sex is just exploding in possibilities. To give you a brief survey of things that are now rampant and everywhere and incredibly popular with huge numbers of people. Number one, puppy play. Okay, which basically, and it took me a long time to wrap my head around what's going on with this. People put on these masks, these hoods, that are sort of like soft sculpture to remember, to look like dog heads. They put on knee pads, they transform, they get into puppy space, they get down on their hands and knees, they romp around on the floor, sniffing each other's butts, humping each other, and that's puppy play. And it's an opportunity to just sort of like let yourself go, you know, let yourself play in a way that maybe you have not done for many, many years. To, you know, behind the mask, sort of like put aside your daylight identity and go crazy for a little bit. If you're thinking that it might be a thing for younger people, think again, and especially since this is Palm Springs, and screw that, all of that, you know, there is no upper age limit to anything that we get going. Another thing that's huge right now is chastity play. What that involves, bear with me, there are these devices, right, that go around the penis. And basically when you put on the chastity device, you're not going to get any harder and your dick's not going to get any bigger than it is right then. And the key, they come on and off with a key, goes to your key holder. That might sound like the opposite of sex, but it can be an incredibly erotic experience to turn over control and power of your sexuality to another person, right? Who then has control over when and if you get to be sexual, even with yourself, right? Also, your whole body becomes sort of like sexually charged in a way that previously maybe like just your genitals were. Another thing is, that's really, really big right now, is it turns out we all have another sexual organ that we're ignoring. That is our assholes. Some of us might be ignoring.
I would say, men, they miss it all the time.
Yeah,
Right
yeah.
then,
But you know, genitals are usually associated with lots of nerve endings. We've got our prostates happening right inside our assholes, and exploring all those sensations that are available. Prostates or the back, the clitoris, for people who have those genitals, the clitoris actually backs up onto the anal cavity. And so tons and tons of those same nerve endings are available coming through the back door as well as the front door. There are toys, there is tongues, there is a range of possibilities for stimulating that, even if your penis is not working as well as it used to. There's a lot of possibilities available to you to just sort of like let yourself go with yourself or with a partner and explore all that is possible from stimulation, being, you know, letting yourself descend into being a good old ass pig. And, you know, with all of these and with so many more, imagine, you know, all of us sitting in this room are virgins. Are virgins again. There's something out there that we have not tried. There's something out there that we have not explored. And it maybe makes us a little bit nervous. It maybe makes us a little bit, oh my gosh, what will it mean if I do that? How will I be labeled? Oh my gosh, You know, will I like it? Will I not like it? We're all virgins at something. And we all have the opportunity to get our cherries popped once more, again, even at this stage in life. There are a lot of what we're doing. You know, many people are put off by BDSM, by leather, by spicy sex, because there seems to be a lot of pain involved, right? Getting whipped, getting hit, that kind of thing. What, in this world, the way that's usually referred to is by playing around with intense sensations rather than using the P word, pain. And mostly, and critical work was done decades ago by a wonderful man named Jeff Maines, who was a respected researcher in a book he wrote called Urban Aboriginals, which is well worth a read. And he was the first person to make the connection between playing with these intense sensations and neurochemicals. And the neurochemical that they knew about back then was the endorphin molecule. Endorphins are the body's natural opiate, essentially. It's thought that evolution gave us the gift of the endorphin molecule to enable women to undergo childbirth. And that sort of like is the key. If you think about that, that's kind of like the key to how to trigger the endorphin molecule. Because childbirth, the contractions come on and they gradually get more and more intense, and it's rhythmic. And what you find is that slowly building in intensity, that rhythmic application, you know, laying on, going back, laying on, going back, that's what gets the endorphins going. And that's sort of like simulated with other things, with, you know, percussive kind of activities like flogging, like whipping, whatever. Somebody after a good flogging, they're flying, their eyes are bright, because what the endorphin molecule gives to you is this feeling of intense well-being, and just sort of being at one with creation, at one with all that is. And there's also serotonin, which is an antidepressant, dopamine, and one that is incredibly important, oxytocin. We are all actually oxytocin junkies, although we might not know it. Could I get a volunteer from the audience?
Remember, you're a virgin.
Oh, sir. Follow my lead, sir. Yeah. Sure.
Very sexual.
We're strangers. I don't think our paths have crossed before today. Oxytocin is the neurochemical after a woman gives birth. Thank you very much. After a woman gives birth, her brain and the baby's brain is flooded with oxytocin. It is the neurochemical that leads to a bonding experience, sealing a bond between two people. And they recently discovered that dogs also experience oxytocin. The way that you give yourself and your dog an oxytocin boost is by looking into their eyes, just like we were doing. Looking into somebody's eyes, pushing past the point where it's a little awkward looking into somebody's eyes, because we usually don't do that, breathing deeply, you are going to start to feel a bond with that person.
Is he no longer a virgin?
In one respect, both of us have broken our virginity, had cherries pumped by each other.
How do you spell that up there?
Oh, Oxytocin.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Everybody lunch.
So here is another really, really good reason to sort of explore things sexually. How much more time?
You have 2 more speakers that you need to speak.
Okay.
You have a minute if you want to go to your original.
Oh my God. Okay. So yes, let me just, and we'll handle the questions. In a minute, let me run through another reason for branching out and exploring things sexually. Friendship. How do you make friends after 50? How do you get beyond people you, hey, hi, see in a bar? Intense sexual experiences, intense erotic experiences, whatever they might be, is a good way to do that. Is a very good way to do that. And we are very fortunate because of where we live. There are lots of opportunities to go out and meet people to experience that. Last Friday of the month at the barracks in Cathedral City, there is the Palm Springs Bondage Club. Everybody is welcome to Palm Springs Bondage Club. It is friendly, it is welcoming, it is lights on, and fun bunch of guys who, a lot of them come and they're doing something for the very first time. And coming back if they like doing that. And anything like that, and there are tons of other possibilities, anything like that gets you out of the house is a really, really good thing. I think Trent Hersey would agree with me that if you go a week without sitting down face to face and having a conversation with another person, you are playing with a loaded gun. You really, really are. Social isolation is the huge threat that we all face. And going out to find partners for these intense, spicy experiences is not the most difficult thing in the world. I'm happy, after my time, to explain just how that could be done really, really easily. And that's it. And Nina?
All right, so to kind of take it away from that, I think about isolation, I think about how quiet the audience is. So what I'd like to do is a little quick exercise. You do have these cards, hopefully you have a pen. If you don't have it, you can raise up your hand. But I like to do this quick little exercise just to kind of break the ice, just to kind of get us thinking. So if you did this exercise with me outside real quick, please keep it to yourself. If you could do me a huge favor, as we're thinking about sex, and as, right after Drew presented, thank you very much, and kind of got us stimulated and thinking about sex in new ways. If you can do me a favor and write down, without looking at anybody else's paper, without cheating, write down your definition of sex, the act of sex. So take a minute or two to do that really quickly. What is your definition of the act of sex? you're really thinking hard about this.
It depends on the experience.
Okay. Go ahead and write down your definition, please. Looks like some people are just about to finish up. Okay. So if you can do me a favor, introduce yourself to the person next to you and share definitions. Go ahead and read. This is a great icebreaker at a bar, by the way. All right, I'm so sorry. I don't mean to interrupt. But if I could kind of bring your attention back. So I heard some giggling, I saw some smiles, I heard something else, an assignment for the weekend, good for you. So out of curiosity, who has the same definition of sex with the partner they just spoke to?
Sorry?
Who has the same definition of sex as the partner they just spoke to? So really, you may want to look at this. Of all the pairs, only one pair in this room had the same definition of sex. So I kind of like looking at that and thinking about that too. And this might be a fun little activity to do with the partner as well. But thank you for mingling and getting to know each other. So did you want to do that exercise? Is that everyone?
Excuse me, I actually have something to say about that. Because the reason I said it depends on the situation is it does. It depends on my mood, it depends on who I'm with, and it depends on my intent. It could come from, it be as casual as cuddling, and that's very sexual, to just being oral, to fucking the hell out of somebody, and getting rid of my anger. And so that's sex, but it's all very different.
And I doubt you're alone in that definition. All right, so out of curiosity, did anybody learn anything from this quick exercise?
I personally, just put it real quickly, neither he nor me. I ignored it. Just don't say anything about ejaculation.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, just like this intimacy.
It's not, to me, not bringing, you can't separate sex from sensuality.
Yeah, that's it.
And there's a greater purpose to when I engage with somebody. I'd rather go 2 years and not have that just getting off. That's like taking a shit. But to me, sex has to be just between 2 people or 3 people and bring a greater purpose and feeling. Bring it all there. The spicy thing I've been doing for years. It was home.
I think it's interesting too, here we are defining the act of sex, but we haven't even talked about what our individual definitions are of really fun sex either. So I'm kind of curious, that could be a whole other conversation. Yes?
Because we were talking about flogging. I was in a situation a couple of weeks ago.
If you could speak louder, sorry.
I was in a situation a couple of weeks ago where I was able to flog somebody. I'd never done it before. Did a beautiful, nice flogger thing. Oh, and just the act of that got me so excited and happy. And I'm not like a sadist or anything. And he was, I just knew he was just enjoying it. And the different techniques to do it, it was just fantastic.
And
unfortunately, they're expensive. They're like $200.
And I think that's the beauty of like open-mindedness and being willing and free and vulnerable to try new experiences. And I think we have to do that throughout our lives at different times. Maybe at one point ejaculation was important in younger days, but is it as relevant now? These are things for us to explore and discover about ourselves too.
Good segue into the next one.
Sure, go for it.
Okay. So now, with your index cards,
Here, flip them over.
think about, close your eyes, let your mind wander. Think about something sexually that you'd like to try, right? Maybe you've liked it, you've wanted to check this out, try it for a long time, but for whatever reason, something holds you back, okay? You just haven't gone there. You just haven't allowed yourself to do that. Maybe it's a taboo thing. Maybe it's illegal, immoral, irresponsible, whatever. Something that you really, really just haven't been able to go there. And now, draw a line under that. Try to put into words the reason that you haven't let yourself go there. Couldn't find a partner, it would be bad for your health,
My knees aren't what they used to
it sounds like.
be. My knees aren't what they used to be.
And now, if our moderator,
Yes.
if our panel of experts here, we have medical, psychology, and me, English major. If you would like us to sort of like give you a little bit of comfort about the reason for your hesitation, put it in the form of a question, and our moderator, hold it up, our moderator can collect them, and we'll see if we can give you some comfort.
And I would like to kind of continue with some of our introductions, just in case we haven't met you yet. So just to kind of give you some more information, my name is Nina Grace Rethus. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. Your average therapist gets 10 hours of sex education. I specialize in sex therapy and sex education, so I've gotten plenty more than 10 hours. And so this is my specialty. I feel very honored to have these conversations with individuals because not everybody has a safe space to talk about sex. So I feel very honored to share these moments with people. Thank you very much. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, so I'm John Colbert, and I am in charge of the sexual health program at Eisenhower, which is located at Rimrock. And so a lot of people think of this as an STD clinic, and I do not think of it as an STD clinic. What I think of it, and what is really important to me, is creating that environment where people can come in and actually talk about the truth, right? Actually feel comfortable, actually share what's happening, and then we talk about how this could impact you from a medical perspective and what you need to look at. So last year I learned a huge lesson in this class or this program here, in the sense that a group of HIV positive folks that are living with HIV shared with me that it was unfair that they were not being seen as often because they were doing great on meds, so on and so forth, right?
Yeah.
So why was it that we saw their HIV negative people more often for STIs than them, right? And I thought, wow, what a miss on our part. So what I promote is come in frequently based on what you're doing, right? Have fun with this, but also get tested regularly, right? So whatever that means to you. So I'm certainly happy to talk to you afterwards or during the course of the program here about what that means for you.
Can I just say, it's fascinating because of just humorously, people are saying that some people only want to have sex with guys who are positive.
Yeah,
They
right.
Like bike chasers.
Right.
It's like, I say to people, why are you doing that with people who are over 40? Because they're all mostly undetectable and on meds.
Correct.
It's never going to happen.
Correct, yeah.
It's just like,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Right. There's a lot of different understanding across the spectrum, right? So we kind of take it from where you are and kind of grow from there.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
So I do appreciate those of you who did decide to share with us, share your cards with us. I guess I also wanted to be clear, and I didn't get to say this earlier on, I did want it to be voluntary. So I know the portion of sharing it, so I don't know how many people actually wanted to share these details. So I'm so sorry, but I wish to keep these private now. But if anybody would like to share what they wrote on the card or what they're hoping to explore, then maybe we can share it in more of an open forum. Is that okay? So sorry. Or even if you have any general questions too, because I'm assuming all of you came into this space with some desires or some intent or some hopes of learning things. So what did you come into this space hoping to learn? How about that?
I'm just curious as to what, I come from a totally different perspective about sex, sexuality.
What's your
I
perspective?
grew up in Greenwich Village with a very open family, okay? We talk about sex at the dinner table. I've had sex at 10. I was going to bars, I'm going through puberty, I was 12. So I'm a very sexual person. I had boyfriends in junior high school. When it comes about sex, like you talk about spicy, I'm dense and innocent, but I think it should be fun. I'm creative. When you talk about ass, it's just right there right at the beginning and just inside. I get nice internal orgasm. Just, what was that all about? Because these sort of tops don't know anything about ass. And bottoms are missing out. What should we give? No one actually gets in touch with their body and with their sexuality and sensuality. So it's been really frustrating for me to find people who, okay, so I live in Berlin. Well, sex capital. Boring. It's all rote. No, it can be improvised. They do things. I make my own sex toys. The things I find on me, whatever.
How much you use for lube sometimes?
Yeah, well, I get from, I live on a farm,
Makes sense.
well, ice cream, but I also work on farms, and use the lube, so we use on horses and cows. $10 a week per cow. Why spend all this money? You waste money on things. But people criticize me, I think I'm weird, because I'm bringing innovation, thinking out of the box, and being fun, and laughing. So it's like, my thing is, I really want to go to more of a, go into it with this dominant stuff. But I'm equal to everybody. There's no top, there's no bottom. Antiquated paradigm. So I'm saying, sir, what? I can't do that. Everyone's equal. Everyone has the same respect. I can maybe getting thoughts on top. I'm in control. And it really fucks with people's mindsets. So I want to go there with it. I can't enjoy it. So I'd like to be able to experience a bondage or a situation, but I make sure that person respects me. And pain, like I said, I get the sensation. How it's delivered, that we're kind of intent. It's not to be malicious, but it's to be for some sort of gratification and build it up, like you were talking about. I don't think people do that. That's why I don't trust them. So that's why I'm not going there. If we find somebody who was about a bit of a higher level towards the sexual environment, say, I would do it. But I don't think people are going to just take that forward. I mean, that's what I think.
I think what you're saying brings to my mind, in a way, the internet and the proliferation of pornography that we can all see on the internet has just ruined sex, because it sort of like gives the message that like this is the right way, this is how hot sex happens, and we're all expected to be experts in hot sex kind of thing. And it sort of takes, I mean, I remember before even people labeled themselves as tops and bottoms, it was basically you met a guy face to face in a bar, and there was that connection that you both felt. Who lives closer? You go to his place, and you worked it out. It wasn't like, so what are you into? What is the laundry list of? Yeah.
That's why I moved here, because I thought men my age who remember how to do that. They're all on the damn phones, and the screens.
Yeah.
In the grocery store, walked down the street, the dominance came from who's gonna determine, people turn their heads, but who's gonna walk out?
Yeah.
That's established the dominant in the situation. I thought that happened here, you know, but I was so disappointed that people are just sucked into that, oh, they have to watch porn. Are you coming to have sex with me, or are you coming to watch something?
Why is that, everybody?
I mean, it's, watch your supplements, you can't sit down and, of course,
Well, what I'm hearing is this desire to have these open conversations without getting judged.
and you explore it. I tell guys, what's your fantasy? Let's try it, I won't judge you.
So I'm not hearing so much of a question, but as this
Frustration.
expressing, yes, a frustration and a desire to meet other like-minded people. So if anybody's like-minded, I'll follow them afterwards. The conversation can start right here.
We have a question in the back?
Oh, yeah, hi. I feel like I want to speak up for the vanilla among us. I'm just saying. Just saying. And I say that as someone who has tried it. I have been around the world in any way, okay? I came out early. I've been having sex my entire life. I was a drug addict and a meth addict for many years, and trust me, I did it all, compulsively so. And not that that was healthy or any, I'm just saying, I've had sex with drugs, I've had sex without drugs, I've had sex with a cast of thousands. I've done it all. And in my process of getting healthy again, for me, I had to discover what my authentic sexuality was from scratch, because it was so clouded with all these things I'd said and done. And as it turns out, I like sucking and fucking and jacking off, and I'm good. I'm good. And I thought to myself when I met my husband, oh, well, I hope this is going to be enough for him. And I'm like, are you okay with that, really? I'm going to fuck you and we're going to come. Are you good? And he's like, yeah, great. You know? And I thought, wow, the pressure's really off. I don't have to swing from the chandelier. I don't have to do anything. All I have to do is fuck my husband and have a connection with him. And it turns out that saying I love you to my husband makes me hard. Who knew?
Yeah.
Who knew? And so I guess I'm vanilla and I'm proud.
I really hope that I didn't
Not at all.
do anything
Not at all.
to diminish, you know,
No.
but my concern is that I think as we age, the temptation is I'm not my 25-year-old self anymore. And maybe the sex thing is something that I can just kind of put on a shelf, have as a nice memory of where I used to be, what I used to do. And sex and being sexual is really, really good for us in terms of mental health, in terms of health, right? And if there is a way possible for everybody here not to do that, but to continue and find ways to still be sexual, as you clearly are, and you have found that way that is perfect for you, then I hope to be a resource, you know, for encouragement and for information about how people can do that. So.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm just thinking that there's something to be said for liking the person you're having sex with. And in my experience anyway, I'm not always in control of who I like and who I don't like. And you can,
Oh, yeah.
that's part of the element, or part of the chemistry of it, and basically I don't control it.
You know, when I take part in lectures like this, for me, it's not about giving answers and giving directions, but it's about starting a conversation. And so, you know, I hope when you leave this room, you continue some of these conversations. And I loved what you said about finding and discovering your authentic self and owning it too, without the shame of what other people are saying about you, but really embracing that and who you are today. And not fixating on who you want to be in the future, but owning
who you are, your desires, your body, what you're able to do, you know, your capabilities and everything. So, did you want to say anything?
I think the environment in which that I come from, you know, I didn't want to be construed here as the killjoy, right? But I think the thing is
No, you're the morning after, right?
I think I'd like to see our community flip this on its head a little bit, right? So one of the things that, you know, I have so many folks that I see who have no idea that they have something going on, because literally about 85% of STIs have 0 symptoms, 0. And so they come in and they're like, no, I really don't need to be screened for this, right? In fact, they come up positive for something, right? So this poor guy, poor girl are out there spreading something, not with any intent, but not knowing. So what I'm trying to do is really talk to folks about flipping this on its head. And it's not a wrong thing to come in and look at this and be tested and know, right? No, we talked about know what your status was. Well, that's for lots of different things, right? So wherever you go, find a provider that you can align with, right? Whether you come to the sexual health clinic at Eisenhower, whether you go to the doc at DAP, whatever you do, just make sure that that individual or individuals, they really understand, you know, what your needs are. I'll give you an example. So first time when I first moved here, I went to Kaiser. And Kaiser said to me, I said I wanted an STD panel. And they, you know, they order things and you go to the lab, right? So I got to the lab and they had ordered a urine for me. Okay, there's no HIV test, there's no rectal swab, there's no, right? So it was horribly insufficient, right? So get aligned with somebody who you can talk freely with. If you get this feeling from them, then run, right? You shouldn't be in there, right? So, and use those resources, because we all know each other, and find Tulika as another great partner with over at DAP, right? Yeah. Yes, sir.
So, in my mind, sexual health is not only dealing with the potential of STIs and STDs that are out there,
Right.
but also so many in the room are living with HIV for a long time, living with the side effects of medications and how those affect you in a lot of different ways, and how that figures into exploring all you can as a sexual person while you're concerned that your gut issues are going to express themselves in the long run.
Great, it's a great point. Very, very valid point. Thank you for that. I think I saw someone back here.
Yeah, I'm just interested, you know, we are sort of all older, and as life goes on, we evolve. I mean, we grow and we find things that we like or don't like, we experiment to whatever degree is comfortable for us. But I'm interested in, maybe this isn't the forum, but sex and hooking up today is much different than it was when, you know, I was in my 20s, 40 years ago. And you know, I was never a drinker, so I used to go to the bathhouses, and those are all gone. Technology has evolved, and so online sex, which is, I think, what most of us are talking about these days, at least in terms of the portal, becomes a very transactional thing. And we're both, you know, participants, but observers. And I have to say that, in a way, I'm glad I'm not 25 now and having to depend on an app for my personal encounters. Drew talked about going to a bar. You used to go to a bar, you used to meet somebody, have an opportunity to have a conversation, a spark would fly or not, and then you made judgments, micro judgments on the fly, and something might happen. Now it's all sort of reductive. It's your app, it's the phone, and I don't have any answers, but I just find it interesting, and particularly for the therapist who deals with people, I'm just interested in how the technology, you know, we didn't used to think of sex married with technology, and now you can't think of sex without that marriage. And I think that changes a whole lot of things. I have no answers, but I'm an observer And I'm glad I came of an age when, at a time when you could still have a connection before you had a connection. Now you sort of get on your app and it's like ordering pizza. And it's, I just find it interesting, and I wonder what 20-year-olds who are doing that today are going to evolve in 40 years from now when they're having these meetings and these discussions.
I'm curious to see where all of this goes. And you're absolutely right, things have changed. This is a whole topic we can talk about. We can dedicate hours to that topic alone. But I do want to be mindful of our time. I think we're scheduled to finish 10 minutes before the hour. So thank you very much. And if you do have extra comments and things, please feel free to come up and join us. And we talked about different definitions of sex. There are also different definitions of sexual health. Something to think about as well. You don't have to be alone in exploring your sexuality. You have all sorts of people who want to support you. So please feel free to reach out to us if you ever need anything. Thank you.